Well, that is a very interesting question, which received very interesting answers. Story time from Disney. Now, if you follow me on a regular basis, you know that I used to be a cast member. That's me! This commenter asks, I know a lot of Disney facts, but this one about the leprechaun in Disneyland I didn't know. What is the magic of the other Disney parks? Now, if you didn't know, every Disney park has a magic signature. And that is a deep, ancient magic that the park pulls from. Gotta get magic from somewhere. And I'm sure some of you are saying it comes from the laughter and happiness of children. Oil comes from avocados too, but it takes way more to run the kitchen. Disneyland pulls from leprechaun magic. Disneyland Paris pulls from an ancient dragon. But where do the other parks pull from? And to that I say, I'm still trying to decipher. You might ask yourself if you've never seen this segment, where does all this information come from? Well, I'm glad you asked. All this information comes from the ancient scroll that Roy E. Disney. Roy E. Disney was Walt Disney's brother and a magic man. Businessman. Magic businessman. Yeah. Who, with the help of Walt Disney, tracked down and captured a lot of magic creatures. He then wrote them down in ancient scrolls and hid them in a rock. A rock under a boat and a tree in the bayou. They made a whole movie about it. That movie was also placed in the rock. No one has seen it. But as I've been deciphering the old text, I found a whole chapter about manipulating magic from old gods. Now, I haven't figured them all out yet, but every time Disney World comes up, there's one word that comes up with it. D23. You see, now yes, every single park seems to have its own power source from some ancient magic. But outside of every Disney World park, it seems that they all derive from an ancient magic themselves. The more I break it down, the more I'm to understand that every Disney World park has a magic creature that the energy is pulled from. But those creatures pull magic from an older, more ancient creature. I'll do my best to explain. As I'm to understand it, Walt and Roy were trying to figure out a way to create their own magic creature. Basically the ultimate well of magic for them. They mixed and they tested, starting with A1. For some reason it came out steak sauce. A15 was too lumpy, and B52 started a band. So by the time they got to D22, Roy was worn out. But then one night, while Walt and Roy were sipping their nighttime chili, Roy came up with an idea. Instead of trying to create the magic creature from what they had, they could take their magic potion and bring a creature from another universe into it. So the next day, Walt and Roy began a potion. They mixed and they stirred, and then Roy began an incantation, where he slowly but powerfully ripped the essence of an old god from a different universe. From an ancient universe. From before the dawn of time. The cartoon. This was like the 70s. The 1770s. Once the incantation stopped, the room went silent. Walt and Roy thought they'd done it wrong, but then off in the darkness they heard it. Walt yelled out in the darkness, "Hello there! What's your name, Giggly?" This ancient being said,
"I have no name, only Honda."
With that, Walt and Roy ran for the door. Did I mention they were doing this at the core of the Earth? I feel like I did because it's important, but I don't know. Anyways, they did this at the core of the Earth. So there's Walt and Roy running for the door, jumping in the elevator to take them back to the top. Walt and Roy just barely escaping the clutches of the no-name creature. Realized they could never go down there again. And they never did. To this day, no one goes down there. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. I meant they made that into the HR office. Now if you get in trouble, you're taken down there and whipped with the chains that were used to create Epcot. It's pretty cool. They have a coffee maker. And like, all the K-Cups. The thing is, Walt and Roy thought that they had gotten away from the ancient creature. What they didn't understand is you can't contain it. D23's still down there. And up here. He's the one that whispers in your ear. Buy the Loungefly. $12 for a churro is not expensive. I know you don't like popcorn at home, but you love it here. D23's magic is so potent that it seeps out of the ground at Disney World. The magic seeping out of the ground is the reason for the gods that live in the other parks. But I've yet to translate those stories. As soon as I know, you'll know. You know, where do you think Epcot came from? That's right, a hole from a different universe that was opened by Roy E. Disney. D23. But how do you think Roy had such power? That's why you make bad decisions in the park. D23 whispers in your ear. Except for the turkey legs. They're pure. Bitch!